I recently learned I will be inheriting some properties and a significant amount of money. I told my wife, but clarified that this is only between us, and she's not to tell anyone, especially her big-mouthed sister. I don't want anyone to know about the inheritance. I want to invest almost all of the money, hire a property management company, and keep our current lifestyle. Last night at dinner with her parents and siblings, her father congratulated me on my impending windfall, and my brother-in-law pulled me aside to ask about the houses I'd be receiving. He and his wife, my wife's big-mouthed sister, have been saving for a house, but haven't saved enough yet, and their credit scores are low. I was very angry with my wife all night, but I kept it in check. On the drive home, I yelled at her. I admit it wasn't my finest hour, but she did exactly what I told her not to do. She argued that my secrecy demand was not right, and that she had the right and duty to tell her family about our financial situation, because it was also her financial situation. We argued for hours, so when I finally had enough, I told her she couldn't be trusted to keep our secrets, and that I wasn't telling her anything else about the inheritance from that minute on. I said that in the heat of the moment, but the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. She tells her sister everything, and whatever her sister knows, everyone knows. I don't want the entire city to know what's happening with our bank account. We're due to meet our attorney, and later, a financial advisor next week. But I think I'll change that appointment to just me. To be clear, she's free to discuss anything with her family. I've only had 2 topics she's not allowed to discuss: my health and our finances. Not the idiot. Does your wife think she has a duty to inform her family about your inheritance, lottery win, or increase in salary? Does she also think she must share your windfall, especially with her sister and husband, who would like to have one of the houses you inherited? Of course she does. I don't need a crystal ball to see where this is going. It sounds like she's already spending the money in her head. If you're in the U.S., an inheritance kept entirely in your name only is your sole property, not marital assets. You should consult a good attorney, probably a divorce attorney, to determine how best to ensure that these assets remain solely yours. You could then use income from the inheritance assets to improve and benefit your and your wife's lives without allowing her or her family to have any rights to your inheritance. She's going to do it anyway. She'll give OP's money to her family, one way or another. The dynamics of the family relationship have changed forever. Every holiday, they'll expect a more expensive gift. You'll be expected to pay for group dinners and expected to pay for group events and probably host. Also, why can't you take everyone to Jamaica for Christmas? Their kids aren't doing their best in public school, so can't you just help a child go private? Sister-in-law needs an emergency life-saving boob job and a tummy tuck. Can you help? And on and on. After all, you can afford it. Not gonna lie, I would probably walk. A sudden windfall changes family and relationship dynamics. People develop unhinged expectations that you must help them out no matter what. You set a clear, reasonable boundary for your family's financial future. Her decision to tell people has potentially put that at risk. At the very least, it'll strain your relationship with her family since they're already gearing up to ask for handouts. Your brother-in-law proved why you should never talk about money outside your immediate household. Never. I would have this money in a separate account because your wife and her family sound messy and entitled. My wife recently gave birth to my first child, but it's her 4th. With her first pregnancy, her family was very critical of the baby name she liked, so she just started giving her children ridiculous fake names, defending them furiously, and then to everyone's relief, changing her mind at the last minute and naming them something more normal. I thought this was hilarious, and thus we named our baby girl Grenadine. The joke fell flat though. My parents were too polite to say anything, and my wife's family had already caught on and took no notice. Regardless, we kept using the name as an inside joke because it had grown on us. Not long after we revealed the baby's sex and name, my brother revealed that they were male to female and would be transitioning soon. This wasn't massively surprising to anyone, so she didn't really get much of a reaction beyond a polite good for you from all of us, to be honest. Skip forward to now. My wife is out of the hospital, and we've brought Susan home, a fake name for privacy, but I think something similar, and my family came to visit that week. My parents were visibly relieved and gushed over the new baby and her new name. My sister, on the other hand, pulled me aside and asked why we changed it. I explained the joke and that it was never a sincere choice, and she got very agitated. Apparently, she had adopted the name Grenadine for herself. I asked why she would even do that, and she told us she felt connected to the name when she heard us say it. I told her I didn't understand the issue. She hadn't legally changed it, and she hadn't even introduced herself as such to us yet either. She said that she had started using the name with her friends and in her daily life outside the family, and now it felt as if we were laughing about it behind her back the entire time. I went to rejoin the rest of my family because I was baffled at this point and thought my sister could pout for a while, but she'd get over it. She hasn't yet and is refusing to speak to me or acknowledge the baby when I bring her over. My sister still lives with our parents. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I think your sister needs to talk to a therapist about boundaries, identity, and self-esteem. It's just so weird that she'd choose her newborn niece's name as her new name, as if it wouldn't have caused a bunch of drama on its own. It's almost like the sister was planning on creating drama and is disappointed that their ploy didn't work, so now they're falling back on being upset about something else. I'd bet $5 she was planning on telling people that the baby was named after her or in her honor, and now she's angry she can't force that narrative. You are entitled to having inside jokes. You have a right to name your own child. You cannot know what your sister tells her friends when you're not present. OP, it sounds like your sister has main character syndrome. It's not about your baby's name, as you already know. It's about the fact that you denied her the opportunity to grandstand. She wanted you to argue with her about the name Grenadine and her use of it. Somewhere along the line, you'd be accused of not accepting her. You'd be forever cast as the villain. Now, by not arguing about the name, you've robbed her of the chance to play the victim. She's fuming. I, 42 female, have a son called Adrian, teen. Adrian is bi and has been out for 2 years. He has a twin sister, Anna. If I were to impose twin stereotypes on them, Adrian is the quiet one, and Anna's the one you should be afraid of. Adrian has an ex-best friend named Mike. They were friends when Adrian was 4 years old, and our families are quite close. Adrian told me that they fell out, but when Adrian first came out, Mike was his biggest supporter, and they only fell out a few months ago. Anna tells me that there's more to the story, but I won't pry. Since they stopped being friends, Mike tries very hard to engage in locker room or playground bullying against Adrian, but no one participates because Adrian is likable and chill. He's also nearly the same height as his father, 6'2", and quite big, so he's definitely not the type to get bullied, and he just doesn't care. He mostly ignores him and finds it quite funny. He's just very quiet and has been his whole life. Last week, after gym class, my son realized he had forgotten his shower gel at home and asked Anna for hers. She dropped it off and went back to her class. Her shower gel is bright pink, and my son has no issue using it. Mike, however, saw my son with this pink bottle and started on his usual, "Oh, look at how gay Adrian is," nonsense. Apparently, Mike was standing near Adrian's stuff, and my son responded with, "Your mom's gay. Now get away from my stuff." A few people laughed, and Mike then said, "Is the gel yours, or did you borrow it from your nasty sister?" Witnesses confirm all of this. He has been trying to get into a fight with my son for weeks now, and my son laughs at every attempt, but insulting Anna is one thing he won't tolerate. My son called Mike a slur, grabbed his things, and got into the shower. His exact words were, "Stop talking about my sister when I find your butt on Grindr." I was pretty shocked to hear this, because this is entirely out of character for Adrian, but even the most likable people have their limits. Mike is also straight. The situation escalated and has been brought to the attention of the school, which demanded that Adrian apologize for being phobic. During the meeting, I told them that the school is well aware that my son is bi and therefore can't be phobic, especially to someone straight. I said I'd have him apologize for insulting Mike if Mike apologized for his behavior for the past few months, but they aren't budging. They are saying that my son's use of a slur was unacceptable and that he needs to apologize. But I don't think that it's a big deal considering the context. Mike's parents are also insisting that my son apologizes. Am I the idiot? Has Mike been told to apologize to Anna for calling her names and saying derogatory things behind her back in a public setting? Has he been ordered to apologize for the constant harassment and phobic comments to Adrian? How's your son being asked to apologize, but not the bully who did the same thing? He's been harassing your son for months. If anything, I'd be threatening the school with legal action for their neglect of this entire situation. Not the idiot in the slightest. Adrian can apologize if and only if Mike is made to apologize and atone for his behavior first. End of discussion, not up for debate. The school seems to be run by path of least resistance type people. They'd rather punish the victims who defended themselves than deal with the hassle of correcting a bully, since bullies and their parents are almost always raging idiots who make their issues and insecurities everyone else's problem. The answer to that conundrum is simple. Make yourself the bigger problem so they'll switch targets. You are the idiot. What is this bull that just because you're bi or because your target is straight, you can't be phobic? That's utterly ridiculous. Your son, according to your detailed description, was being extremely phobic. You excuse his behavior and pretend that he automatically gets a pass on bigotry is extremely bad parenting. Mike's bad behavior doesn't magically excuse your son, and it's hypocritical for you to clutch pearls over Mike's behavior while cheering on your son's. OP, based on the information we have, I feel like there is a lot more to this story, and you have no idea what's happening. I'm guessing the more to the story is Mike is also questioning his orientation. It's a good chance he came on to Adrian, but Adrian turned him down because he was his best friend and didn't see him that way. Now Mike is hurt and embarrassed and expresses this by being a bully to Adrian. I, a teen female, am an only child. There has been no secret that my mom and dad hate each other. I don't think a week has gone by without them having screaming matches and someone driving off in their car. You get the gist of it. This has been kind of hurtful to me. They've never done anything to me, but they've always dumped their feelings about each other on me. I've always heard everything. And yeah, no kid wants that. They've been talking about getting a divorce in almost every argument since I can remember, and I think that's one of their most used words ever. I always hoped they would divorce. I love my parents, I do, but they also deserve a partner who loves them. So last night, while we were having dinner, they told me some bad news and told me to please not get upset, that they've tried everything and so on. Then they broke the news that they were going to divorce each other. I just said, "Oh, okay," and continued eating. They both started to cry and told me that I was insensitive, that I must have no feelings, because who doesn't react to their parents' divorce, and more stuff. They've been mad at me since because of my reaction, and when I talked to my friend, she told me that it was really bad of me to react like that, even though I was happy about the news. Maybe I was an idiot for not reacting more, but I mean, I can't force tears or something for news I've been waiting my whole life to hear. Not the idiot. Your reaction is normal. You don't have to pretend sadness for their sake. It seems that you've already learned that just because you reach adulthood, it doesn't mean that you reach maturity. And unfortunately, it seems like you're saddled with two emotionally immature parents. Just know their reaction is more about them and their inability to properly process their emotions. Nothing is going on here besides you having drama parents. OP's parents are probably reacting this way in part because they always figured their marriage was miserable, but at least that sacrifice was for something. The revelation that remaining married was worse for themselves and their kid, and they just made everyone miserable for no reason, understandably stings. I think they'll probably have to process that before they can become amicably divorced co-parents. Darling, hopefully you will be okay, and they will be much happier parents for you now that they're going their separate ways. I'm 30 female, close to my sister, 32, and I've hated how bad her marriage has become. My sister got married 4 years ago. Her husband was a widower with 3 young children, pre-tween, young tween, and older tween when they got married. At first, I really liked my sister's husband, and they made a very good couple. She confided in me a couple of years ago that things weren't as great as they appeared to be on the outside. The kids would say awful things to her and her husband's family, and his late wife's family would make her feel like the mistress instead of his wife. We discussed this a lot, and I encouraged her to speak to her husband and a therapist and look for help. She brushed off the suggestions and stated she didn't want to rock the boat too much. We started hanging out a lot more, and I did my best to observe everything happening. Over time, it became super clear that the issues ran deeper than she even realized. Yes, the kids would say awful things to her about not being good enough, make fun of how she talks, she has a stutter, and compare her to their mom in a negative light. Yes, her husband's family treated her like she was his mistress, and they had no respect or care for her at all. Her husband's in-laws were very clearly bitter. She was in their grandkids' lives instead of their daughter, and they acted like it was her fault their daughter was gone. But her husband was always in hearing distance and would laugh. He would make his comments about how annoying she could be. He didn't compare her to his late wife or bring up his late wife when he was speaking badly about my sister, but he was doing his own crap. In April of last year, my sister finally started seeing a therapist. She's now almost at the stage where she thinks she'll leave soon. She still freezes when she thinks about it, but even her therapist thinks she's coming along amazingly. She has her exit plan and money ready to help her when she's out. My sister told me I no longer have to hold back if her husband annoys me. Saturday, my sister's husband shows up. I was having a small family dinner, and he showed up a few hours after my sister got here and tried to get himself into my house. I refused to let him in, and he told me it was a family dinner, and he and the kids should be there. But since they were with their aunt that day, he was there. I told him he wasn't welcome. I informed him I wouldn't allow someone into my home who treats my sister so disrespectfully and who allows his family, including his children, to be so cruel to my sister. He tried to make a fuss and complain that I brought up his kids. I told him that I put the kids' attitude on him 100% because they've been made to feel it's okay by him, never correcting them. He tried to yell his way in, but I stood firm. Afterward, my mom said I should have never interfered, and it's not our place to deny him entry when they're still technically together. Am I the idiot? Edit. Sister already gave me the go-ahead and had no issues with what I did, but our mom did. Even though my sister was okay with it, I could see where my mom was coming from, and it's what made me ask. Not the idiot. Your mom is wrong, saying it's not your place to deny him entry. It's your house, and he showed up uninvited, LMAO. It's entirely your place to decide who comes into your own home. Good for you helping your sis grow her shiny spine. I hope she ruins him in the divorce. So your sister's saying, don't let him in, and your mother's defending him and saying you should ignore your sister and let him in? What the heck is wrong with your mother? Oh, I think we all know that. She believes you never, ever get divorced because you made the till death do us part vows. Clearly, you're an amazing sister. Your home, your rules.